Welcome back. We were talking about Yana Ogi's death. By the way, the Star carried, I guess, a lot of the other media, the social media as well, an open letter to Yana Ogi's victim of gender-based violence by Felicia Brown. The Star also had a story about this.
And who's Felicia Brown?
Felicia Brown was a former LPM candidate who is also a lecturer at UE.
Okay.
And a very outspoken advocate for gender rights and human rights generally, protection of children and sex abuse.
Former
on those
LPM.
issues. Yeah, former. Also on page 11 of the Star, did cops help post grotesque and Chasney pictures? And how did Yana die? We were talking about the fact that the issue was raised here in this story by Tony Nicholas, that sometimes the footage and the photographs that are carried in the media are actually sold or given to the media by police officers. But I want to focus more on the media's role and how you see it changing in light of the presence of iReporters and the fact that the mainstream media houses like DBS, HTS, Choice TV are now competing with those iReporters and the online news services like St. Lucia Times and St. Lucia News Online.
I have long suspected, based on evidence, that there is collusion, which in our language we would call cooperation.
Well, if you have evidence, it's not suspicion anymore. It's confirmed.
Yeah, and I'll see whether you could call that evidence. I read and I watch, and one sees in the, and when we talk about the media, I'm glad you categorized a while ago, we have to distinguish between the mainstream media and the online media, the instant media, and of course I have a problem with your description of iReporters and citizen journalists, but we'll come back to that. I think that insofar as police cooperation or collusion on these issues, one can see the evidence. I remember there was an incident where a correctional officer at Bordelais was accused of trying to smuggle drugs into the prison, and she was taken to the hospital and searched. And then on the front page, if you could call it that, of our two online news media services, on the front page was a picture of the plastic with the contents that were alleged to have been removed from inside of the lady. Now, how does that picture get to a media house if it is not handed over by, with a photograph taken by either the people who took it out or the people who collected it when it was taken out? That type of evidence is not presented to the media.
Indisputable.
Yeah. There are also the fact that the speed with which the media houses mentioned can instantly report items of crime, items necessitating police intervention, and the sloppiness with which some of those articles are written, they expose the fact that the information would have come from a police source. So that is happening. It's not the first time, but I think it has reached a stage where there is reason to believe that there are rewards offered and given and taken for exchange of that type of information insofar as police are concerned. On this specific case, we all know that the young lady was found. I even have people telling me she's not young, she's over 30. But the young lady was found dead, in rocks below a place where she was and the vehicle was supposed to have fallen. There is no information as to whether she was accompanied or not accompanied. The post-mortem suggests that she died lack of breath, the way in which these post-mortem reports come, you cannot conclude and say, well, somebody beat her and threw her over.
That is a result of physical trauma and asphyxia.
Yeah, physical trauma. Does physical trauma, what's the definition of that? Somebody beat you? Or the physical trauma of falling?
Sustained from
sustained from the fall,
yeah.
And then asphyxia is loss of access to breath. So could she have been, how could she have lost access to breath? Did somebody choke her? Did the postmortem find out whether she died before the fall? You know, now these are issues of speculation, and that is the sort of speculation that some of us in the mainstream media have used to be headlines for stories. Speculation about how she died, was she alone, etc., etc. The distasteful aspect have to do with concentration more on the fact that she was half clothed or half naked, you know, which I suspect was thrown in to give, again, more speculation as to whether she was driving that way or whether she was that way before she fell. Now, all of it is feeding the speculation. Now, when it comes to the circulation of the offensive photographs, I do not believe that these photographs are being circulated by people with the intention of being eye reporters or citizen journalists who want to inform, play a role of informing or show. If that was the case, they would have been discreet as to what they show. I seriously believe that the people doing that, taking those pictures, first of all, and putting them on the net, and those who are downloading them, including well-known so-called respectable people who have no problem in forwarding it, I think they're not doing it to inform, they're not doing it to, or on the other hand, to spite the young lady. I think they're just doing it because they have the tool at their hands. They don't care. Somebody forwarded me something, so I forward it. Some people forward you prayers and say send it to 20 people. In the case of Roro, nobody have to ask you, you know, to forward it. You just naturally forward it. And I think there are those types of people. People forward me stuff that I wonder how they could even look at it. You know, but they did. And they found nothing wrong with it, which is why they want to share it with me and you. So I don't think we have got to the point where we have citizen journalists from the standpoint of people who would use their camera to take a picture, to send it to, no, let me rephrase that. There are citizen journalists, people who would use their camera phone to spread information, to inform people of things they might see that is happening or should not have happened. What I want to qualify is that the people who circulated that particular photograph of the half-clothed young lady dead were not doing it from the standpoint of being citizen journalists.
But I want to ask you then now, do you see the media, mainstream media now, the established commercial media houses as having contributed to the development of that trend by ourselves demonstrating the same insensitivity that we're referring to?
Yes, certainly.
When we shoot videos of dead bodies and we do close-ups of blood clots and that sort of thing, and beheaded victims of crime and choppings, you know. And
the dangerous part is that,
we set the precedent. And
we set the precedent, but what we are doing, what we are also doing is creating a beehive of so-called eye reporters and citizen journalists whose objective is not what those phrases were supposed originally to mean, but people who would use a gun. Let's take a gun. A gun is a firearm. You could get a firearm license to use your gun legally. Which means you can use it to shoot somebody and get away, depending on how you do it. That same gun in the hand of a thief is not a self-defense, legal something. So you and I, you as a responsible person can have a gun, and you will decide that I have that gun only to put it to proper use to defend myself, or as something to scare people away. In the hands of somebody else, that gun is a tool to kill. A tool that I can use to scare people, to shoot, not to defend myself, but to attack others. I think the camera phones, the smartphones are the same. We can use it responsibly, as you know, for telephone, for camera, for this and that, or we could use that tool with all of those elements that we can use in different ways for different reasons.
But you see, the same can be said about the mainstream reporter. You have the equipment, you have an entire TV station and staff behind you. Do you use it, as we said, using the carnival coverage as an example, to responsibly inform, educate your audience?
We don't, because you have the answer already. We talk about it every week. What's missing there is the training.
Let's talk a little more about that.
Training.
We're due for a break, another break. They come quickly. We quickly run out of time, so we'll take that break. When we come back, we'll talk about that story. We'll round it up and some of the other issues in the papers this morning.